Have you ever wondered why there's so many people graduating from school and they're lost, they don't know where to go? Have you ever wondered why some people who just aren't very bright earn millions of dollars and others who are absolutely brilliant are broke? Do you know, that question has run around my mind for over 50 years. It's something called paradigms. Joe Barker wrote a book on it back around 1990. It was an excellent book. And you know, paradigms literally are controlling our life. We can go right through our educational system and learn absolutely nothing about them. It's that little voice within that's controlling you, and it's controlling me. You see, paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits that are lodged in our subconscious mind. School teaches us nothing about how to change the paradigm. And yet we have people graduating from school with an abundance of knowledge, and they're not going anywhere. You see, the knowledge they've gathered does not equate to the results that they're getting. They're really bright, but the results would indicate they're not very bright at all. Well, you and I have been conditioned. We've been conditioned genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. And then we're conditioned environmentally. Think of this for a moment. A baby that is born in the suburbs of New York, if it was taken to Beijing and put in a home there, that baby would grow up fluent in Chinese, absolutely no knowledge of the English language. The same, of course, if you took the baby from Beijing to New York, the baby would grow up in English. Why? Because we're programmed with the language that we're surrounded by. But we're also programmed with the lifestyle that we're surrounded by. Now think of this for a few moments. Do you know that almost all welfare recipients are third, fourth, fifth generation welfare recipients? People going nowhere, generation after generation. In prisons, do you know that almost all people that leave prisons go right back into prison? The recidivism rate is up around 85 or 90%. 3% of our population earn 97% of all the money that's being earned. Do you know, if you stop and ask yourself, why? How is this happening? There's answers. I began asking those questions a long time ago. See, when I was 26, I was earning $4,000 a year. A couple of years later, I was earning over $1 million. I had no formal education, no business experience. The change was so dramatic, I wasn't satisfied with enjoying it. I wanted to know why. Because I grew up with the idea that you probably grew up with. If you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. But you see, I was earning a lot of money and I knew I wasn't very smart. The idea is if you're going to build a business, you have to have a good formal education. I had 2 months high school, but I had a business that was operating in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. I had to know why, what happened. Now, what actually happened was I changed my paradigm, I changed my subconscious conditioning, and I didn't know what I had done. And I'll tell you what I've found. I have worked for some of the largest companies in the world. I've gone in, I've watched their sales go up by hundreds of millions of dollars just teaching people how to change a couple of habits in their life, because that's what a paradigm is. A paradigm is a multitude of habits that are lodged in our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is where our intellect is resident, and that's what school, our parents, our guardians are always having us work on, teaching us to develop our intellect. But that isn't the part that controls our behavior. The part that controls the behavior of this thing, that moves us into action, is our subconscious mind. And that's where the paradigm is. That's where the ideas are all locked up. I think William James from Harvard put it very well way back around 1900. He said you must deposit the idea in the treasury of your subconscious mind. Well, unfortunately, that's what happened to us. A lot of false beliefs were deposited in the treasury of our subconscious mind. I want to suggest you ask yourself, what do I believe? Take your pen and write down some of your most cherished beliefs and then ask yourself, why do I believe that? And you know something? You probably haven't got a foundation for believing it. You inherited that belief. You didn't originate it, you inherited it. It's part of the paradigm. Paradigm is culture. Culture is nothing but group habit. And group habit is right back to a paradigm again. Do you know, I travel all over the world. I go into all kinds of what I would refer to as foreign countries. When they come to our country, it's a foreign country. And you know something? Although people look different, they sound different, they dress different, they may eat different foods. When you get past the culture, people are essentially the same. We're spiritual beings have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. But the paradigm is controlling us. You see, the statistics that I referred to, the 97%, that's just as true in one side of the world as it is on the other. But you know something? You and I have the ability, just like that, to decide, I'm going to be in that 3% group. Now, how do I do it? That's where the paradigm has to be changed. And when you do that, you change your life. Do you know, inscribed over the Ark of Apollo at Delphi for the last 2,000 years are two words: know thyself. Hardly anybody really understands himself. Beyond their name, their age, their gender, they really don't know too much about themselves. As we start to dig inside, we'll start to see that there's a program in our mind that's literally controlling our life. And if you study the lives of most people, it doesn't change too much one year to the next. But you know something? It can change just like that, by changing the paradigm. That's what you really want to understand. Understand it's a multitude of habits in your subconscious mind. See, as a little child, I was asked, Bob, why are you doing that? And I say, I don't know. They say, what do you mean you don't know? You know better. I know. Why are you doing it? I don't know. The school, the teachers, Bob, why'd you do that? I don't know. They say, you know better. I know. Why are you doing that? I don't know. I went into the Canadian Navy. Every commanding officer, why? You see, I didn't know why I was doing things. I was doing things I didn't want to do. It was giving me results I didn't want to get, and yet I would do them anyway. That's a paradigm. Everybody's playing the same game. You owe it to yourself to gain an understanding of this magic word. Understand that there's a program inside of you that's literally controlling your behavior and producing your results. And you have the ability to write a new program. That's right. And when you write your own paradigm, that's when you start to take control of your life. And that is the way it was designed. You are designed to control your own life, to live the way you want to live, do the things you want to do with the people you want to do them with. It's a great way to live. You got to get to know yourself first. Hello there and welcome. It's Bob Proctor back again. Now, you know, in the last video that we made here together, you know, I went through how the conscious mind works, how the subconscious, and how the body is an expression of the mind. And as you go through that, if you go through it a few times, you're going to see, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Now, I want you to think of this for a moment. When you impress an idea upon your subconscious mind, that alters the vibration of this instrument we call our body. See, our body is a molecular structure. Really what it is. It's a mass of energy in a very high speed of vibration. Now, we invented a word to describe our conscious awareness of vibration, and that word is feeling. If you ask a person, you know, how are you today? They'll say, well, I'm feeling fine, or I don't feel that good, I feel great. You never hear a person say, oh, I'm consciously aware of being emotionally involved with a negative idea, so therefore I've moved into a negative vibration. But that's exactly what happens. So, you see, as we start to understand this, and we become aware that we're not feeling too good, we can change it. Now, it takes a little training, but you can do it. We are really in charge of how we feel. Now, we let other people upset us, but we don't have to let other people upset us. We don't need to react to them. We can respond. We can listen to what they're saying, and they say, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's just not what I'm like. And we can hold our own idea of ourselves. You see, it's important that we grasp how the mind works and that we understand the relationship of the body to the mind and the mind to the body. Now, it's our results that we want to change. Now, our results could be in our physical body. It may want to be, you may want to cast off a few pounds. You may want to put on a couple of pounds. You may want to have a little higher energy. See, all the energy there ever was or ever will be is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Everything's energy. You know, you'll hear people say, where does he get all the energy? Where does she get all the... Nobody gets energy. Everybody releases energy. Desire is the triggering mechanism that, whoo, lets the energy flow. Now, let's go back and have a quick review. Here you've got the little stick person here. There you've got the conscious mind. And remember, you have the sensory factors hooked up to the conscious mind. And then you have the subconscious mind, and then you have the body. Now, the conscious mind has the ability to choose thoughts. Those thoughts turn into pictures. We turn the pictures over to the subconscious mind, and then the subconscious mind expresses the action. All right? Now, what is the problem? Remember, we said the subconscious mind had no ability to reject. We said the subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. How did we arrive on the scene? I'll tell you. When you arrived on the scene, you did not have any conscious faculties developed. The sensory factors weren't even developed. This is how you arrived. That's called the little life. That's the baby. No conscious mind. So there's the subconscious mind. It's wide open. You can put anything in it. You see, your subconscious mind is programmed genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. It's built right into the genes at birth. But then we're programmed environmentally. Carl Mendinger from the Mendinger Foundation in Topeka one time said, environment is more important than heredity. Why do you think you speak the language you speak? You speak that language because you were surrounded by people that speak that language in your little life. And the language just went right into the subconscious mind. If you grew up in a home that was bilingual, you learned both languages. I had an associate over in Kuala Lumpur, had a little boy, he spoke 4 languages at 4 years of age. And you'd look at that and you'd say, my gosh. No. The baby was programmed. Why do you like the food you like? It's programming. That's right. Now, let's stop and think about the environment we were raised in. Here's the baby, and look at the ideas and the thoughts and the concepts that are going on around that baby are going right into that baby's subconscious mind. Now, through repetition, over and over and over again, and remember, the baby's getting it all day, all week, every week, all month, every month, all year, and this goes on for 4 or 5 years. And the baby reaches the age of 4 or 5 where they can start to think that baby's programmed. That baby is programmed to think like the people it had been surrounded by. If the people that surrounded that baby had gone right through school, the baby will probably grow up and go right through school. If the people that were surrounding that baby always lived in hard times, never had any money, always in debt, that's probably how that baby's going to grow up. Now, this is bizarre, but this is how it happens. It's how it happens for me. I was raised during a depression. We didn't have any money. There was always talk about no money. You should be satisfied with what you've got. Well, that's not true. You should never be satisfied with what you've got. You should be happy with what you've got. Dissatisfaction is actually a creative state. So here we have now a baby that has been programmed. Now, let's take and think for a moment. What happens when that baby starts to think for itself? Now think of this. The paradigm controls the vibration. The vibration controls the action which produces the result. Now here we go. Here you got the baby with the paradigm, and the conscious faculties have developed. They have the ability to think. There's a power flowing into them. What are they going to think? They're going to think thoughts that are in harmony with that paradigm. That's right. We've been raised to believe you go to work to earn money. Do you know that working is the very worst way to earn money? That's right. You should go to work for satisfaction, not for money. You provide service for money. You can earn money while you're sleeping. In fact, we have programs where we teach people to actually earn more money while they're sleeping than they'll ever need to use while they're awake. You say, well, that's a pipe dream. No. That's a paradigm that causes you to think that's a pipe dream. There's people doing that are nowhere near as bright as you. But here we are now. We've got the person. They've been programmed in their little life genetically and environmentally. That paradigm is nothing but a multitude of habits. A habit is an idea that's been programmed into the subconscious mind over and over and over again. Now, the paradigm is literally controlling the behavior. Consciously, you can think of one thing, but subconsciously, the other idea will be controlling you. See, we can sit down and we can read these self-help books. We can listen to the recordings. We say, yeah, well, I can do that. That makes sense. That's logical. But then we can't do it. Why? Now, think of this for a moment. I want you to imagine that you're going to accept an idea right now to turn your annual income to a monthly income. You say, well, I'd like that. But will you do it? Probably not. Your paradigm will stop you. See, your paradigm literally controls the results. Now, let's think of how the paradigm was formed. The paradigm was formed through repetition. The ideas being planted in your subconscious mind. Now, understand your paradigm dictates your logic. Your paradigm controls how you utilize your time. Your paradigm controls your perception of situations. Your paradigm controls your effectiveness. Your paradigm controls the amount of money you earn. If you want to change your life, you must change your paradigm. You see, to most people, it's illogical that they could take and turn their annual income to a monthly income. But if you follow our teachings, we'll show you exactly how to do that. We'll show you how to accomplish anything you want to accomplish, because what we're focused on is showing you how to change the paradigm. When the paradigms change, your life changes. It's a beautiful concept. It's an absolutely phenomenal concept. Now you know why you're getting the results you're getting. It has nothing to do with your intellect. Your intellect, you can figure out how to do things. But that doesn't mean you're going to do them. You'll hear people say, I believe that, but their behavior would indicate they've never even heard of it. Why? We believe something on a conscious level. On a subconscious level, the paradigm believes something else. There's a word called praxis. Praxis is the integration of belief with behavior. We've got to take the beliefs that we have consciously, that we determine by thinking, and plant them in the place of the old belief. See, I used to believe that I couldn't do anything better than I was doing. I felt fortunate that I was on the fire department. The idea of building a company that operated all around the world, furthest thing from my mind. But you know something? As I changed my paradigm, my whole world changed. That's what we do. That's what it's all about. You've got to change your paradigm if you want to change your life. Now, you can study all you want. If you don't gain an understanding how to alter that program, and that's what the paradigm is, it's a program. It's a multitude of concepts that are fixed in your subconscious mind that literally control your behavior. It's a beautiful concept to understand. It's a terrible one if you don't understand it, because it literally controls your life. Why do you think most people go right through their life and keep getting the same results year after year after year? Well, it's just the way it is, and they don't know. We should be taught this in school, but we're not. How is the paradigm formed? Through the repetition of information. How's the paradigm changed? Repetition of information. Now, let's suppose you're having a difficult time with money. You find that you got more going out than coming in. You've got to change your concept about money. How do you do that? Through the repetition of an idea. That's where affirmations comes in. I'll give you one I've been using for years. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. You don't just say that once or twice. You've got to repeat that maybe 1,000 times a day, every day for maybe 90 days. And you'll start to change your whole concept about money. Wealthy people all have multiple sources of income. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I drove around with a battery-operated record player and a long-playing record. And I played it over and over again every day for probably a couple of years. This was so totally illogical. It was behavior. Everybody thought I was losing it. And I'm reading the same book every day, Think and Grow Rich. As a matter of fact, I'm still reading the same book. And it was the repetition of Earl Nightingale's information and the book that changed the paradigm. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I did it. Do you know, I had a man come up to me in the Waldorf Hotel in New York, the Waldorf Astoria, at the end of a 3-day program, and he said, Bob, I really want to thank you for what you've just given to me. He said, for the first time in my life, I've understood how I accomplished what I did. I said, what did you do? He said, I won the gold medal in the decathlon in the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia in 1957. That's right. Milt Campbell. And he said, I never understood how I did it. He said, the next time you run a seminar, I want to bring my boys. And he did. Milt and I became great friends. In fact, Milt has a key to our house. He can come stay there anytime he wants. I live in Toronto. He's in New Jersey. But here was the top athlete in the world, a very best athlete in the world. He didn't understand how he got there. Most people that are very accomplished cannot tell you why they are. That's why they are. They've rewritten the program. They changed the paradigm. They might not have understood how they did it, but they did it. That's what our company is all about. We teach people how to change paradigms. I want to thank you for watching this, but I'm going to ask you to share it with other people. Share it with them. Say, come and watch this. Start a rapport. Build a rapport with people, you know. It's a great way to live And this is great information to understand. Thanks for listening. It's Bob Proctor.
I want to tell you about a plan you can follow which takes only a little time each day, 5 days a week, and which brings results out of all proportion to the time spent. For a moment, consider the things your mind has brought you. Everything you have, your work, your relationship with your family and others, your philosophy of life, all come to you as a result of using your mind. Now consider the estimate made by experts. You have probably been operating on less than 10% of your mental capacities, much less. Dr. Herbert Otto, psychologist, educator, and chairman of the National Center for the Exploration of Human Potential, reminds us that many well-known scientists, such as the late Abraham Maslow, Margaret Mead, Gardner Murphy, O. Spurgeon English, and Carl Rogers, subscribe to the hypothesis that man is using a very small fraction of his capacities. Margaret Mead quotes a 6% figure. Herbert Otto writes, "My own estimate is 5% or less." Neurological research at the UCLA Brain Research Institute points to enormous abilities latent in everyone by suggesting an incredible hypothesis. The ultimate creative capacity of the human brain may be, for all practical purposes, they pointed out, infinite. To use the computer analogy, man is a vast storehouse of data, but we have not learned how to program ourselves to utilize these data for problem-solving purposes. Yefremov, the eminent Soviet scholar and writer, says man under average conditions of work and life uses only a small part of his thinking equipment. If he were able to force our brain to work at only half its capacity, we could, without any difficulty whatever, learn 40 languages, memorize the large Soviet encyclopedia from cover to cover, and complete the required courses of dozens of colleges. Now, this statement is hardly an exaggeration. It is the generally accepted theoretical view of man's mental potentialities. Now, how can we tap this gigantic potential? Well, it's a big and very complex problem with many ramifications. But as Herbert Otto points out, it is clear that persons who live close to their capacity, who continue to activate their potential, have a pronounced sense of well-being and considerable energy. They see themselves as leading purposeful and creative lives. If everything you have is the result of using just 10% of your mind, consider for a moment what it will mean to you and your family if you can increase this percentage. Now, none of us, as a rule, has the slightest notion of the real capabilities of his mind. But believe me when I say that your mind can be compared to an undiscovered gold mine. And it makes no difference whether you're 17 or 70. Look at it this way. Your goal is in the future. Your problem is to bridge the gap which exists between where you are now and the goal you intend to reach. This is the problem to solve. Robert Seashore, when chairman of the Department of Psychology at Northwestern University, pointed out that successful people are not people without problems. They're simply people who've learned to solve their problems. And there you have it. Living successfully, getting the things we want from life is a matter of solving the problems which stand between where we now are and the point we wish to reach. No one is without problems. They're a part of living. But let me show you how much time we waste in worrying about the wrong problems. Here's a reliable estimate of the things people worry about. Things that never happen, 40%. Things over and past that can't be changed by all the worry in the world, 30%. Needless worries about our health, 12%. Petty miscellaneous worries, 10%. Real, legitimate worries, 8%. In short, 92% of the average person's worries take up valuable time, cause painful stress, even mental anguish, and are absolutely unnecessary. And of the real, legitimate worries, there are two kinds. There are the problems we can solve, and there are the problems beyond our ability to personally solve. But most of our real problems usually fall into the first group, the ones we can solve if we learn how. Now I'm going to assume you've decided upon a goal. Your problem is, how do I achieve it? Your goal may be a promotion, a greater income, a beautiful home. It makes little difference what your goal happens to be. But you have your goal, and you know that you will become and you will achieve what you think about. That is, if you stay with it, you will reach your goal. But how? Well, it's right here that your mind comes into play. What is your mind? No one knows for sure. Perhaps the best way to describe it is to quote Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Archibald MacLeish. In his play, The Secret of Freedom, a character says, "The only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse." That's uncomfortably true. The human mind is the one thing that separates us from the rest of the creatures on Earth. Anything that comes to us in the future will almost certainly come to us as a result of the extent to which we use our minds. And yet it's the last place on Earth the average person will turn to for help. In order to reflect just a moment on the human mind, consider what it's accomplished. Human knowledge has advanced more in the past 50 years than in all the preceding 10,000 years of human civilization. Of all the scientists who ever lived, it's estimated that 90% of them are alive today. We've reached, in the area of ideas and human advancement, a plateau so high it was undreamed of by even the most optimistic forecasters as recently as 10 years ago. But every new idea triggers additional ideas, so that now we're in an era of compounding advancement on every front and in every area that staggers the imagination. Dr. Harlow Shapley of Harvard has said that we're entering an entirely new age of man. He calls it the psychozoic age, the age of the mind. And you own one, free and clear. Now let's look at a few facts. Now, the average working person has at his disposal an enormous amount of free time. In fact, if you total the hours in a year and subtract the sleeping hours, if he sleeps 8 hours every night, you'll find he has almost 6,000 waking hours, of which he spends less than 2,000 on the job. Now, this leaves him 4,000 hours a year when he's neither working nor sleeping. These can be called discretionary hours, with which we can do pretty much as we please. At least, our minds are free. Now, so you can see the amazing results in your life, I want to recommend that you take just 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, and devote this hour to exercising your mind. Pick 1 hour a day on which you can fairly regularly count. And during this hour every day, take a completely blank sheet of paper. At the top of the page, write your present primary goal, clearly, simply. Then, since our future depends upon the way in which we handle our work, write down as many ideas as you can for improving that which you now do. Try to think of 20 possible ways in which the activity that fills your day can be improved. You won't always get 20, but even one idea is good. Now remember 2 important points with regard to this. 1, this is not particularly easy, and 2, most of your ideas won't be any good. Now, when I say it's not easy, I mean it's like starting any new habit. At first, you'll find your mind a little reluctant to be hauled up and out of the old familiar rut. But as you think about your work and ways in which it might be improved, write down every idea that pops into your mind, no matter how absurd it might seem. Let me tell you what will happen. Some of your ideas will be good and worth testing. The most important thing this extra hour accomplishes, however, is that it deeply embeds your goal into your subconscious mind, starts the whole vital machinery working. And 20 ideas a day, if you can come up with that many, total 100 a week, even if you don't think on weekends. An hour a day, 5 days a week, totals 260 hours a year, and still leaves you 3,740 hours of free leisure time. Now, this means you'll be thinking about your goal and ways of improving your performance, increasing your service, 6.5 full extra working weeks a year. 6.5 40-hour weeks devoted to thinking and planning. Can you see how easy it is to rise above the so-called competition? And will still leave you with 15 hours a day to spend as you please. Starting each day thinking, you'll find that your mind will continue to work all day long. You'll find that at odd moments, when you least expect it, really great ideas will begin to pop into your mind. And when they do, write them down as soon as you can. Just one great idea can completely revolutionize your work and, as a result, your life. If you want to develop the muscles of your body, you take daily exercise of some sort. Well, the mind is developed in the same way, except that the returns out of all conceivable proportion to the time and energy spent. I've used this system for years, and it's given me some of the most gratifying and rewarding experiences of my life. And it costs only 5 hours a week. 5 hours out of 168. Is it worth it? It's like spending 5 hours a week digging in a solid vein of pure gold, because your mind is all of that and much more. Each time you write your goal at the top of the sheet of paper, don't worry or become concerned about it. Think of it as only waiting to be reached, a problem only waiting to be solved. Face it with faith and bend all the great powers of your mind toward solving it. And believe me, solve it you will. Now let's briefly recap. This week, start spending 1 hour each day getting as many ideas as you can. Try for 20 a day on ways to improve what you're now doing. Remember, the achievement of your goal very likely depends upon it, as does your whole future. 2, if everything you now have is the result of using, say, 5 to 10% of your mental abilities, you can imagine what life will be like if you can increase this figure to 20% or more. 3, successful people are not people without problems. They're simply people who've learned to solve their problems. 4, don't waste time and energy worrying about needless things. 40% of them will never happen, 30% have already happened and can't be changed, 12% are needless worries about our health, 10% are petty miscellaneous worries, and only 8% are real. Try to separate the real from the unnecessary and solve those which are within your ability to solve. Last of all, the only thing in the world that can take you to your goals in life is your mind, its effective use, and following through on the good ideas it supplies you. Each of us has a tendency to underestimate his or her own abilities. We should realize that we have, deep within ourselves, a reservoir of great ability, even genius, that can be tapped if we'll just dig deep enough. It's the miracle of your mind.